Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking the exact mechanics of how the American economic system literally engineers extreme wealth. If you've ever wondered how certain industries produce fortunes that completely eclipse the GDP of entire nations, well, you are in the exact right place. We're going to open up the source material and look directly at the blueprint of this wealth machine, piece by piece, to see exactly how it functions.
Okay, let's dive right into this ultimate paradox. Just think about this math for a second. The United States has just over 4% of the global population, yet it consistently produces the vast majority of the world's billionaires. Every single year, global wealth rankings reveal this exact same pattern. We are looking at a hyper-concentration of financial success that is mathematically staggering. So naturally, we've got to ask ourselves, why? Is this incredible concentration of wealth just dumb luck? Is it simply because of abundant natural resources like fertile farmland and vast oil reserves? Or is it the system itself? Is there a very specific combination of laws, culture, and financial architecture that acts as a highly tuned engine for extreme wealth creation?
To figure that out, we're going to explore the 5 core pillars that make up this unique economic blueprint. The Billionaire Blueprint, Silicon Valley and Wall Street, real estate and industry, the wealth inequality debate, and finally, the next wealth revolution.
Starting with Part 1, the Billionaire Blueprint, the foundations of scale. Let's see how this whole thing builds from the ground up, starting with the macro environment. Looking back through history, we can clearly see that periods of massive technological transformation have repeatedly created unprecedented opportunities for American entrepreneurs to build absolute fortunes. From the agricultural commerce back in 1776 to the 19th century railroad expansion that literally paved the way for the great industrialists by connecting distant regions. Then, right through that massive industrial manufacturing boom of the 20th century, and now the 21st century internet. The pattern here is totally undeniable. Every single time a technological revolution solves new problems, a new wave of immense wealth is generated.
But the absolute foundational secret here? It's sheer scale. For you and me, state borders are just lines on a map during a road trip, right? But economically, they represent the ultimate unfair advantage. We're talking about an immediate, frictionless market of over 330 million consumers, all operating under one federal legal system with incredibly strong property rights. This means a startup that succeeds in one city can seamlessly expand to all 50 states, scaling massively before ever having to untangle the mess of international markets.
Moving on to Part 2, Silicon Valley and Wall Street, the twin engines. Let's zoom in on the micro-level mechanics that have really supercharged wealth creation in recent decades.
Okay, if you take away one thing from this explainer, make it this. Massive wealth is almost never generated through a high executive salary. It is almost entirely engineered through equity and ownership. This is a crucial concept. If a founder owns 20% of a startup that eventually hits a $100 billion valuation, their ownership stake is worth $20 billion on paper, even if they take a super modest salary. True billionaire status is minted by holding shares in assets that dramatically appreciate in value, not by earning a massive paycheck.
And that brings us to the famous Silicon Valley venture capital pipeline. This is the high-stakes ecosystem that funds this whole ownership model. Investors are out there placing calculated bets on entirely unproven ideas at the pre-seed or seed stage. Now, most of these startups are going to fail, and investors know that going in. But as the successful ones move through Series A, B, and C rounds, they scale their operations rapidly. Finally, you get the exit, either going public via an IPO or getting acquired. And that is what allows founders and early employees to realize the massive, massive value of their equity. Now, this is where network effects come into play, and it completely explains why tech platforms can suddenly achieve these wild trillion-dollar valuations.
Unlike a traditional factory that has to go buy physical materials to build one more physical product, a software company can distribute its digital product to millions of new users with almost zero additional cost. Add to that the network effect, where an app actually becomes significantly more valuable just because more people are using it, and you get this explosive growth loop. It's exactly why some platforms can go from a literal garage to 1 billion global users in just a few years, creating unprecedented valuations basically out of thin air.
And meanwhile, over on Wall Street, you have this massive interconnected financial ecosystem channeling trillions of dollars into these scaling companies. You've got investment banks advising on mega mergers, private equity firms acquiring businesses, and public stock markets allowing companies to raise vast capital from millions of investors. And that includes everyday retirement funds. That's right, your own 401k or pension is actually part of this massive financial plumbing, providing the deep pools of capital necessary to transform promising startups into global empires.
Section 3. Real estate and industry. The physical world. Because, hey, it's not all software and algorithms, right? Let's pivot to the tangible, enduring pillars of wealth.
Long before the internet was a thing, real estate was building vast fortunes, and it is continuously evolving. Today, real estate isn't just traditional commercial office buildings or residential development. We're talking massive industrial logistics centers and, increasingly, cloud data centers. In fact, some of the absolute most valuable real estate being developed right now isn't for housing people at all. It's for housing servers. These billion-dollar, highly specialized facilities are absolutely essential to support the booming artificial intelligence industry. It really comes down to this foundational truth from our source material. Unlike technology startups, real estate is a tangible asset. Land cannot be manufactured. It's that simple. When you combine a growing population with expanding infrastructure, the land in those desirable locations inevitably becomes more valuable. Enduring fortunes in America are still heavily tied to these physical assets that just compound in value generation after generation.
Which leads us to part 4, the wealth inequality debate, the consequence of scale. Because an engine this powerful absolutely does not operate in a vacuum. When examining this topic, there are very clear, distinct arguments from both sides of the debate. On one hand, supporters argue that this system is exactly what drives vital innovation and job creation. They point out that wealth is often reinvested through large-scale philanthropy to fund future world-changing technologies. But on the flip side, critics raise serious concerns about extreme wealth concentration. They point to the real dangers of excessive market power held by megacorporations and the unequal political influence that vast fortunes can exert on democratic institutions. So the ultimate challenge highlighted here is really one of balance. How do policymakers maintain an environment that incentivizes entrepreneurs to take these massive, bold risks while simultaneously ensuring that the broader economy remains competitive and provides broad economic opportunity for everyday society? It is arguably one of the most defining economic conversations of our time and a balance we all have a stake in. Finally, Part 5, the next wealth revolution, looking to the horizon. Let's look ahead and see exactly what industries are primed to generate the next massive wave of wealth. We are literally standing on the edge of entirely new frontiers right now. Just as the internet defined the last few decades, in the 2020s, artificial intelligence is completely revolutionizing global productivity. As we move into the 2030s, commercial space exploration promises to open up a literal new economic frontier. And looking toward the 2040s, advanced biotechnology has the incredible potential to fundamentally transform human health and generate staggering economic value in the process.
Which leaves us with one final provocative question. As the technological landscape shifts once again, who will build tomorrow's trillion-dollar engines? The blueprint, that scale, the venture capital pipeline, the ownership model, It's all already in place. The only question now is whose vision will ignite the next great American wealth revolution. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.